So hi guys, welcome back to the channel. No hat today. It's very warm in here today, very sort of humid and horrible. So I've got the window open, and what happens consequently is the door to the room will move. So there may be, you hear the door against the frame maybe throughout the video. So anyway, we are into part 3 of the Tamiya SAS Jeep build. So in this part, what I'm going to talk about and what I'm going to hopefully show on camera is just a little tiny bit of scratch building that I kind of want to do to just to add a little bit of detail to it. So we're going to build some racks for the back of the Jeep out of some plastic card, just where the fuel cans are going to sit, or the jerry cans are going to sit in the rear of the vehicle, and just some piping to the condenser at the front into the radiator. Dead simple, out of fuse wire. So that's what we're going to do in this part, and just show how I've done it really, which, you know, I'm not teaching anyone to suck eggs at all. There's way better scratch builders out there than me. I think this should just add a little bit to the finished build, and dead simple to do, and costs nothing really. Bit of plastic card, bit of fuse wire, and we're done. So that's it. So we'll head down to the bench and have a look at that. Obviously, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, so you can get notifications of future parts of the build series and other videos that I'm going to put out there. And hit the like button if you like it. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button, but let me know why. As always, comments are welcome, and I'll endeavour to reply to them all. So yeah, let's go down to the bench, let's get a sharp blade and start cutting some plastic card up. Alright guys, see you soon. So guys, here we are down at the bench, and what we're going to do is just do a tiny little bit of kind of scratch building just to add the detail, as I mentioned in the intro. So the Jeep's all together. Now what I have done off camera, and hopefully this will show, is I've done, so there's 4 jerry cans that sit along each of these bits at the back. There's no racking or anything in the kit. Now obviously, if this Jeep's going over undulating ground, etc. at some speed, these jerry cans would fly all over the place. So I've scratch built just some very basic kind of racking out of plastic card, which fits, and we'll glue that in place on the back of the Jeep just to add that little bit of detail. And what we can do is attach stowage to these bits, and just to give it a little bit extra detail really. Dead simple, but hopefully it will add a fair bit to the build. So I've done that one off camera. So this is the stuff I'm using, and this is just generic plastic card, some scrap bits. You can get this stuff off Amazon for pence, which is where I got mine from. I got a pack of 10 sheets of varying widths, etc. for about £6 I think, so it's not expensive at all. So all we're going to do is replicate this piece, which should be, he says, fairly simple. So all I'm going to use is a steel ruler and nice clean fresh sharp blade. So let's move those out of the way, get that one out of the way. So we'll also use mechanical pencil. That's a pen. Mechanical pencil, just to mark out where we need. So all I'm going to do is put that one there against the straight edge. Little mark there. And then all we're going to do essentially is draw around the one I've already done. Which should give us that. Dead easy. Then steel ruler. Use a steel ruler, not a plastic one, because with your sharp blade, the chances are you'll end up shaving bits off your ruler and damage it. So steel ruler is your friend. And then we don't need to make one cut straight away to get a nice sharp, a nice sharp line. Just several lighter presses on the plastic card till it starts to come away, and then just make sure it's nice and square. And again, you're better off with several light passes rather than one kind of big heavy press, because you'll end up gouging it, etc. So we'll check now and just make sure that we can get 4 jerry cans on that piece there, which we should do, because we, excuse me, the window's open and the door to the modelling room is banging in the wind. It's quite a warm, humid day, so I've got the window open, and there we go. So they're going to fit. Happy days. So then what we want is, we want essentially the side bits here. So I can't remember, I think they were 1 mil, 2 mil. So out of this piece here, which is just an off cut, we're just going to do a 2 mil strip of the plastic card, and then that's what we'll use to create all the sides, etc. So it doesn't have to be massively accurate, you know. One there, one there, and then we'll draw a line just as a guide. Try and get it as straight as we can. There we go. And then again, light passes with the blade. And that should give us, we've got some spare if we need it, that just gives us this strip. Now because it's quite thin, it is kind of pliable, which is good. So again, what we're going to do is just measure very roughly what we want. So we'll cut the 2 long bits first. This is, if I can find the mark, there we go. And we'll just, again, light passes, this won't take a lot to cut. That's one, and then we can use that one as a guide for the second one. So we've got the 2 long pieces. Then we'll do these kind of struts. So we need 2 of those. Don't particularly need a ruler for these bits because they're so small. And then, all being well, we should have enough left in this last bit to do these side bits here. All being equal, little mark, and once these are glued, you can tidy them up if you need to, make them a bit squarer, but they should be fairly accurate, he says, till we try and glue it. So the way we're going to do this, so we've got all our little pieces there. First thing I'm going to do is glue the jerry cans onto the plastic card base, which will give us that stability for the rest of the rack, if we want to call it that. So we'll just put some extra thin on there, and then what we want to try and do is get these as straight as we can. Try not to stick the plastic card to your cutting mat, because that won't help. And what you have with the TET is obviously just that little bit kind of drying time, which will enable us to just move these into the position we want, or as near as damn it. And once they're in place, we'll just add some TET around all the edges. Just to secure it as best we can. Now obviously that's going to take a little bit of time to dry. So if we move this delicately as we can, because we don't want to move those now, we'll move that out of the way, and we'll move our bits of plastic card out of the way. So while that's drying, what we want to do, so on the front of this is the condenser. Now if you look at reference pictures, and actually in the instructions it says that you can just add some piping detail. So the way I propose to do that is by using this stuff, and it's just fuse wire, generic fuse wire, really cheap from any kind of household DIY store. I can't even remember where I got these from, but I know they were pence. They weren't expensive at all. So we'll just cut a little bit of that off. So what we want is like an upturned U shape here on the top, and then what we want then is another one going down the side into the radiator itself. So I'm not going to be using my electric drill for this. What we'll use is just a pin vise. This one's from Citadel. Had it for a fairly long time. Some drill bits out the way. So first thing we're going to do is make some holes. So what we want is a drill bit that's essentially the same sort of diameter, or a little bit smaller. So that one is too big. So we'll have a look in here, see what we got. And I reckon that one, don't ask me exactly what diameter it is, again a bit too much. So let's have a look. Maybe able to go a tad. It's just a case of mix and match really, so we find the one that's going to be most suited. I think that one's probably going to be the best one. Yeah, that'll do us. That's close enough, hopefully. So just put that back in the pin vise, tighten it up, and then we're going to make some holes. So the first hole I'm going to put is just on the top here. So just hold that because we don't want it to break off really. And just gently start drilling into the top. All you can see is my hand, I'm sure. It shouldn't take. I'm putting no pressure on that at all really. I'm just letting the drill do the work, let the tool do the work. And you kind of feel or you will feel, as it breaks through the plastic, you'll kind of feel less resistance against the drill, which should give us that hole in the top, just there. Bit of test and adjust. Now that hole is probably slightly too big, to be fair, so that's not a problem. What we use is a little bit of thicker wire, and as I say, what we want to do is just create this kind of upturned U shape. So if I just use the bottom of that drill bit, and all I'm going to do, because it's very pliable, this stuff, is just bend it round and use that as a guide. And then what we'll do is we will cut that off, and we end up with that, which hopefully will just slot nicely into there like so. And then we'll put a dab of CA glue just to hold it in place there. So that's our top tube, and then all we're going to do now is put a hole here, and we're just going to run a bit down into the radiator itself. So the first hole I'm going to do, let's see if I can pick that up, is in the radiator itself. So we'll go about there. As I say, very little pressure, and just plug away until you feel that pop. There we go. So that's that. Get rid of that. And then we'll put another hole just there. Now we don't have to be particularly accurate, because from what I understand and the bits and bobs that I've read, these were pretty much makeshift, in the field modifications, so we don't have to be too concerned. So there we go, there's the holes. So what we can do now, because we've got 2 points of attachment essentially, so we've got this bit in the radiator, and then the bit on top of the condenser itself, so we can actually use that as a guide to where we want it to be. And then again, if we use this larger diameter drill bit just around there, create that kind of bend, which should then, with any luck, just slide into there, and we just locate it home. And like so. So there we go. So we've got that bit of pipe detail there, and then obviously we've got the bit that's going to go in there like so. And there we go. You know, it's not perfect, but it gives the effect and just adds that bit of detail. And then we'll just put a couple of drops of CA glue on the top, one on there just to hold it in place. So that's that done. Now, with any luck, these should be dry. Look at that, it's like Blue Peter. So, the way we're going to do this, so as you can see on this piece, we've got these side bits here first, So we're going to attach those, which I should have remembered really. We're going to go with these two. Yeah, we'll go with these two bits. So we're going to put a drop of extra thin down the centre of the jerry can and on the plastic card base, and then just a pair of tweezers, and that should manipulate into where we want it to be, which is fairly central. A little bit of pressure, and there we go. So we do that on the other side. Don't need loads and loads of glue because we want to try and avoid, as best we can, we want to try and avoid any sort of glue marks. And then what we're going to do is attach the bits across the long bits of the racking. So again, bit of extra thin on the jerry can. Grab our tweezers and place that on there and get it, well, to the eye. You know, we're not going to get a spirit level out or anything. As straight as we can. And just make sure that's nice and secure. A little bit there. Again, back into the kind of middle of the jerry cans really, and that should do us. Dead simple. And hopefully once it's all painted, weathered, other stowage attached to it, it should just give that little bit more realism, a little bit more detail, and it's cost nothing. I reckon in total, that little bit of fuse wire and this little bit of plastic card, you're probably looking at, I don't know, 20 pence maybe. It's not an expensive thing to do by any stretch. A little bit of tape there, and then we'll attach the side bits. Once it's all on and starting to dry, which is the beauty of TEP really, we can kind of square it all up and just last bit of kind of manipulation into place really. Tweezers are your friend with these sort of things because fingers can be problematic. Now, despite our best efforts, that's not really, it's going to be a bit too long, this piece. So that's an easy fix. What we'll do, and I'm not measuring it, I'm kind of just going by eye. So we'll take a little bit off. Less is more because it's easier to take more off than it is to add more. So a little bit at a time, kind of test and adjust. And as you can see, there's no real science to this at all. Just doing it by eye. Now I'm not sure, some of the reference pictures I saw of this kind of racking, some of it looked wood, some of it looked like metal, fabricated metal, so not sure, I suppose they're both. They would have used whatever they could kind of lay their hands on, I'm guessing, at the time. And that will do us. So I'm fairly happy with the position of that. So all I'm going to do now is just go around a little bit of text just where the joins are to make sure that it's nice and stable and secure. And that I'm not going to come back and it's fallen to bits. And then I'll leave that to dry. It's tet, it doesn't take long. And yeah, so there we go. That's the jerry can racking. And as we can see, the way that will work, he says, hopefully, is they will just sit in the back of the Jeep where the jerry cans are, and it just gives it that bit of extra detail, really. And then we can add various bits of stowage hanging off the racks and all that sort of stuff. So that's it. So I'll go back face the camera, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Cheers. So there we go, guys. That's a very haphazard way of doing a tiny bit of scratch building. So we've added the piping and the racks to the rear of the vehicle, which hopefully will just give it that bit of something extra. So yeah, that's it for this part. Next part, we're going to move on to painting. So we're going to prime, get the base colour down, get all the stowage painted, and then hopefully start getting it all together, really. So as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for your ongoing support, all the comments I've received on the previous parts, and the support from the community, which is great. So yeah, that's it. Until the next part, I will see you all really, really soon. Take care, stay safe, happy modelling. Cheers.